In this video, I'm going to be talking about when I use the Panasonic EVA 1 instead of the Panasonic S1. Here's the story. Recently, I was asked if I tend to use the S1 more than the EVA 1, or if it is fairly even, or if I need both in my kit, which is an excellent question. For my video projects, the Panasonic EVA 1 is my A camera, which means it's my main go-to camera. If I only use one camera on a project, most of the time, it'll be EVA. Whether it's shooting interviews, shooting B-roll, or filming commercial projects, the EVA 1 is an incredibly versatile camera and does an excellent job. But sometimes I need a second camera on my shoots, so why do I have a Panasonic S1? If the Panasonic EVA 1 is so good, why don't I just have two? Well, there are a few benefits the S1 has over the EVA 1. First benefit, it's smaller, and this is good for a few reasons. 1, it's easier to balance on a gimbal. 2, it's easy to shoot handheld and it doesn't draw too much attention to you when you're filming around people. 3, it's lighter and cuts down on arm fatigue. And 4, it's not as intimidating as larger cameras can be. When recording interviews, having big lights and big cameras might make you look professional, but if you're interviewing someone that's not used to being in front of the camera, this can be quite overwhelming to them. If you've got a smaller package like the Panasonic S1, it can put them at ease and help you get a more natural and better interview. Second feature, IBIS, or in-body image stabilization. This is incredibly helpful when recording handheld. When you're shooting things handheld with a camera and a lens that doesn't have image stabilization, you can often get micro jitters, which don't look very good. IBIS steadies the shot and smooths those micro jitters out, making it a much more pleasing viewing experience for your audience. Now, the EVA 1 does have electronic image stabilization, or EIS, but this is really very similar to what Warp Stabilizer does in post, so it can be quite hit or miss. It's definitely not as good as the Panasonic S1's IBIS. So the S1 having IBIS is a big plus. Third benefit is full frame. Now, full frame is something that a lot of people like and some people don't really care too much about. I like the full frame look, but I also like the Super 35 look that the Panasonic EVA 1 gives as well. So for me, it's nice to have the full frame option in the Panasonic S1, but shooting with Super 35 isn't really a big drawback for me. Both are a great tool and both can look great in their own right. Also, when shooting YouTube videos like this one, it's much easier for me to set the Panasonic S1 up and then control it through the Lumix Sync app on my iPad. Instead of getting up, hitting record, checking focus, sitting back down, seeing that I'm out of focus, getting back up, changing focus, and doing all that kind of stuff, I can just operate this camera through an app that is right in front of me, and that is incredibly helpful. Now, the Panasonic EVA 1 does have Wi-Fi capabilities as well, but you need to purchase an extra module to be able to unlock that feature. And that comes at a price and expense that I just haven't justified to myself yet to purchase, so I don't have that option with my EVA 1. So with the Panasonic S1, it already has Wi-Fi built into it, and the app is free to download as well. So that's a win-win and a no-brainer for me to use the Panasonic S1 for videos just like this when I'm recording myself. So with all that said, why do I prefer to shoot with the EVA 1 over the S1 for the majority of my video projects? Both of them shoot in 4K 60p, but the Panasonic S1 has a recording limit with 4K 60p and is only limited to 8-bit color, whereas the Panasonic EVA 1 doesn't have a recording limit in 4K 60, and you can record that in 10-bit 420. Both cameras also shoot in Vlog, which is the picture profile that I prefer to use, and they both give you 14 stops of dynamic range. The Panasonic EVA 1 has built-in NDs, which is essential when you're shooting outside, but if you're recording with the Panasonic S1, you can just screw on variable ND filters on the front of your lens, or even use the Photodiox ND throttle fusion adapter if you need to have a variable ND to shoot outside. The Panasonic EVA 1 also has built-in XLRs, but I don't find myself using this that much because I have a Sound Devices MixPre 3 Mark II, which gives me the ability to record in 32-bit float. Now, if you don't know what 32-bit float is, it basically means that you can set your levels at whatever, and if the audio comes in really hot and distorted, you can just bring those levels back down in post and it will sound like you recorded the audio at the correct level at the time. This is an incredible feature and I would love to see this implemented in future cinema cameras. However, I'm not going to hold my breath. Another big thing to think about is battery life. Now, on my Panasonic EVA 1, I use the Core SWX Nano batteries, and on a single charge, I can get about 4 to 5 hours of record time. Now on the Panasonic S1 with a single battery, I can get about 2.5 hours. But then if I add a battery grip and then another battery, that pretty much doubles the record time and then pretty much gives me the same amount of record time that I get with my EVA 1 with one of their batteries. And then also if I want to add more battery life to the Panasonic S1, I can just use a power bank like this one and then plug it in through the USB-C, and that will keep charging and filling up the battery as I'm recording. So that's another way for me to be able to keep the Panasonic S1 powered up. Of course, if you've got mains power available to you, you can just plug the Panasonic EVA 1 directly into the wall and then you don't have to worry about battery life. So if I'm completely honest with you, the main reason that I use the Panasonic EVA 1 is because it looks like a video camera, and that's important. When you're working with clients and you pull a video camera out of your camera bag, it hopefully will fill them with confidence to let them know that you know what you're doing. But if you pull a photography camera out of your camera bag and your client doesn't know a lot about video production, they might start to lose a little bit of confidence in your ability, which is not a good thing. Now, this might sound silly to you because what should really matter is the end result and what the final image looks like. But unfortunately in this life, sometimes to be the part, you need to look the part. One important thing to consider as well in this cinema camera versus mirrorless camera debate is price. Now, on paper, a cinema camera can be a lot more expensive than what a mirrorless camera can be when you're just buying the camera body. But then when you start to buy accessories, everything starts to add up. Pages, matte boxes, lenses, filters, batteries, battery grips, monitors, the list goes on. And when you start to add all these extra accessories, the price can start to even out a lot quicker than you may expect. So for you and your projects, if having a cinema camera is of more importance than having a mirrorless camera, it might be a wiser decision to save your money and purchase the cinema camera instead of buying a mirrorless camera and then buying extra accessories, trying to make up for its shortcomings. Now, there are a bunch of features that the Panasonic S1 has that the Panasonic S1 doesn't have that I haven't mentioned in this video yet. SDI out, time code, my favorite square focus peaking, focus assist feature, and more. But do you see any other benefits that a cinema camera has over a mirrorless camera? If so, let me know in the comments and let's start a conversation. And that will do it for this video. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel for more videos on video creation in the future.